I know how people think sometimes, so let me start this by saying, I'm not the lady's first choice. I don't really think that I am actually the second or third choice. I'm more like, well, let's not go there. I've never heard a complaint from the women I've been in, but I know my place. Never been lame, but I've been rejected and always walked in my own lane. Anyone that knows me will tell you, they'll pretty much tell you the same. So I've never watched Kevin Samuel stuff, but people have said this content is somewhat similar. And so this video is going to explore the modern day things that frustrate men in our pursuits of women. I expect women to highly disagree with me and attack my physical look and seek vengeance with all the vitriol that can be spoken. And for those women watching, please note the points made in this video are not made for women to agree with. You will be disturbed by some of the things I say, but if you think that I'm wrong on how men are perceiving our social relations with women, then please let your man watch this and ask him honestly if he feels that he can relate to the points that I am making. Ask him if he has experienced the issues that I'm speaking about. The point is that there is an issue that is affecting social behaviors that need to be addressed. I am addressing it. As a man, there is no reward for me in saying the things I'm about to say, and the wrath I will certainly receive shall be like no other than a woman scorned. With all that said, the words spoken here do not apply to my beautifully misunderstood female rejects. These words are to those that consider themselves sevens and above that fit the description of those I am speaking of. Not that I would rate someone as a number that considers me something else. The people I'm talking about, or this type, is not down. So my advice is we should not talk about people when they're down if we can lift them up. I'm not speaking to all women in this discussion. I'm speaking about some women. Again, I repeat, I'm not speaking about all women. This discussion is addressing a certain type of woman that has been influencing the behavior of other women to ignite a trend. This is not speaking of the good women that are independent, mature, selfless, and educated. I'm just here to talk about things we men that we acknowledge but don't really bring up to women. Although we should. I intentionally am going to be random in the points that I bring up because I have to keep your attention. So here's the stuff I'm going to talk about. Men's inner thoughts about our dating relationships with women, the differences of how some particular women socialize versus how men socialize in society, things women do that confuse and frustrate men, internet dating versus traditional dating, how women can mentally stimulate a man to respect her mind and social abilities, what value do women have to offer men, what value do men have to offer women, are men getting cheated in today's relationships, the philosophy of women and sex versus the philosophy of men and sex, and who would suffer more socially in a world without sex, hypocrisies versus materialism versus men want the body and women want the wallet and why both lose, international dating and dating outside of one's own culture, the psychology of a woman from a man's perspective, equality, and the power of women. So, outside of men, please show me women. Where are your thoughts? Outside of influencing men or speaking about men or even children, where are your thoughts? We as men ask ourselves, when was the last time we actually enjoyed a 2-hour-long conversation with a woman without drinking alcohol or gossiping about someone or something? Meaning, sometimes we got to drink alcohol to be able to chill with y'all because some of the shit that y'all be talking about, you don't even want to hear that shit and your girls don't want to hear it, but we listen to you. But so, all right, so let me get back on point. Where are the women philosophers? Where are women pondering the stars? Women are in the military, but where are female regimes built to protect female interests or defend women oppressed around the world? These may be unfair questions, But these questions are leading somewhere, So usually, not all the time, but usually when we see female politicians or women in positions of power, they grew up around either many brothers or male friends, or their fathers had a strong influence on their philosophy. There are women philosophers, but in the normal day-to-day relationships with the majority of women socializing, we men can go years without encountering women expressing their thoughts on stuff like how, just follow me here. We don't hear thoughts like, how is the television built? How does the eye actually see? What is your life story? Your family history? How are you different from your parents? What was the last book you enjoyed that was not a love story or talking about finances? What is something you see in the world or sense that others don't? What is something you planned for but did not achieve? What is something you would like to invent? How deep does language go into shaping or stimulating different regions of the brain? Those types of questions. Is Swahili more aligned to gear speakers of it to understand technology better than those who speak Korean? Meaning, does language have an effect on the brain to be able to stimulate different regions in a certain way? Why is God studying us? You get the point that I'm making? Those are conversations and thoughts that we're not getting from our women. Or maybe it's me. These are neutral questions that are philosophical and do not get into someone being able to say you are doing something wrong or that you are stupid. Questions like those are just questions with no right or wrong answer, the ones I asked about philosophy. But they engage people in learning about how another person thinks without me forcing my opinion on you. Which this brings me to my next point. Women seem not to care about how a man thinks unless they can find a way to use it against us. And that can be the reason I don't see or experience many women having conversations with men about general thoughts. Women know how to attract a man. You attract a man with your body. However, for all of my life, I have seen many women oblivious to knowing how to keep a man. Women are spending more time to learn how to physically attract a man's attention than how to mentally attract a man's attention. Then the women get mad when he only wants her for her body. If a woman wants a man, then get inside his mind. Not to control or use your knowledge against him, but to connect with him and help him to connect with you. Men are constant in expressing our attraction to the physical, but the untold truth is it is the physical with the mental that keeps a man. Chris Rock said before he got slapped that men and women have to share some things in common. If you like crack, she has to like crack. You can't say, I'm going to church, while he says, I'm going to go hit the pipe. Let's be honest. Nobody wants just a body. Nobody wants just a mind. Do the smartest people attract the most women? Nah. People, women, and men aren't looking for highly intelligent people to be with romantically. That's why I unbuttoned my shirt a little bit. And I think I'm gaining a little weight, so it kind of unbuttoned itself too. But anyway. The smartest people don't attract the most women. So let's stop acting like men are the culprit when it comes to being attracted to the body. When people say they want someone with a mind, what they're really saying is they want someone they can bond with socially. And they want someone that they can bond with chemistry-wise. Dumbasses want dumbasses. Thugs often want thugs. College graduates, other college graduates. There are mismatches that sometimes exist. A serious person could be with somebody who's funny. But for the most part, people aren't going for brains as much as they want someone they are physically attracted to that also has some social traits that make them feel capable of bonding with that person. So let's get off that high horse and admit, I know how to say horse, and admit that we're all guilty of being socially brainwashed into who we find physically attractive or unattractive to some degree. The difference is acknowledging it and admitting it instead of denying it and acting like we are morally superior and indifferent to physical looks. And I only judge people and partners who, are mentally superior because that's the kind of person that I am. Let's get off of that. Not so much, but just bring it down a little. So, it ain't no surprise that generally we all find the same people attractive. I wish to God I could see an ugly person and think to myself, that is the most physically beautiful woman I've ever seen, and be drawn to her mentally as well. Equally. Or more so mentally. Doesn't work that way. Maybe because something's wrong with you, baby. That's what somebody would probably say about me. But I know it doesn't work that way. How do you know? Huh? Because many women have found me unattractive. I know. I might look like I think highly of myself. But I've heard it all. I've just still been able to keep my head up and, persevere and accept things because, what I think of myself is completely different than what I've heard of what other people think of me. So that brings me to the next question. What makes you interested in someone else? When do you show interest, and how do you show that you are interested in someone else without talking about yourself? Women know how to attract a man physically. Most women can attract a man physically by going to them in a gym or, a woman going to a gym and getting in shape. For those women that don't know how to attract a man, talk to them. Here's what you do. Dress nice and get your hair done and find the man you want to talk to and stand next to him. Exchange a few glances with him and a small smile. If he is a straight man and is attracted to you, then he will approach you. Do this by yourself. Do not try this while you have 5 of your girlfriends with you. Men are more likely to approach a woman when she is by herself because we are aware that your friends cock block. And they ridicule or critique us to the point that you grow blind to your attraction to us in order to bond with your girlfriend. How else can a woman get a man to see her for more than her body? Try to keep a man's attention mentally. Try to mentally stimulate your man with conversation. Listen to when a man talks and follow up on his topics after you have thought about what he said. Don't try to argue or take the opposite side of his discussion. Instead, try to add and contribute to his discussion. What else can you do socially? Well, you remember all the things he was doing to pursue, serenade, and seduce you? You remember the questions he was asking you when you all first began dating? You remember all the dates he was taking you on? You remember all the family events he went to with your family? You remember the bills he paid? You remember the massages? You remember that stuff? Well, now, you do that for him. Reciprocate. Reciprocate the things he does for you, and you might find him paying attention to you and connecting with you on something deeper and more meaningful than sex. Because he can see you are willing to do for him that which he has done for you. So, now the more important tips for women. How can a woman keep a man committed to her? This is advice for women that don't know how to keep a man. Here's how you keep a man, women. Get inside the man's mind and his thoughts. Talk to him about things he wants to talk about and show interest. Do things before he leaves the house that will make him think of you while he's gone. If that means giving him or buying him some chocolate or giving or ironing his clothes or whatever instead, small things you can do to make him think of you when he's gone, then do that. Most importantly, give the man positive attention. Make him feel appreciated. Get inside the man's mind from a companionship standpoint and friend level to socialize with him on things he likes. You can play video games with your man, watch sports with him, cut the grass with him. No woman wants to do this all the time, but these are things you can do sometime to enter his world. Study and read something or go somewhere and then introduce him to your interests. Give a man compliments and say what you like about our physical features and personality. We like to hear it too. Touch a man and be physical with him. We like the way a woman feels and touches. Hold our hand. Give your man space sometimes, though. Don't be all up in him to where, everywhere I go, I'm going with my friends, oh, she's there. I'm going over my parents. We like you with our parents, but everywhere we go, all the time, you don't have to be all the time under us. We can still like each other, give each other space. That way we have something to talk about, when we come back. You could tell me about the things that you saw during the day, and we can miss a match because we're going to need that. So, here are hints, clues, solutions, and tips for women that have a problem with having generic, neutral, mutual, enjoyable conversations with men. Men want and like conversations about friends, family, politics, philosophy, sports, history, art, music, movies. Those things are ways to engage in conversations with us that show you our thoughts. Those things can be neutral topics where we're not being personal or negative and judgmental on each other. Those conversations we can both participate and engage in without being an authority figure where one person is telling the other what the other is doing wrong or what you need to be doing. Men don't like being told something is wrong with us. I know you've been told otherwise, but believe me, men don't like hearing what we're doing wrong. I know you've been told that men don't care about a woman's mind, but that's not true. We find nothing more valuable and beautiful and nothing more to attract us and keep us with you than your mind, women. When you show us your mind. Good social skills in your mind are the only things that keep a man committed to a woman. It's only through our thoughts that you keep a man and build chemistry, not his stomach, not your physical appearance or sex. However, we are sold to the primitive, most basic carnal lust by the woman, and that is the body. Those beautiful breastises and big, juicy African asses with the tone of her voice and tongue flicker or the switch in her walk and the way you smell and move, it just oozes. Just ooh. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I lost myself for a second. But I'm thinking of that dog on those cartoons, the Wile E. Coyote, like the cartoons when the heart's pounding out his chest or something, or Thumper the rabbit and he's like pounding his foot really fast. And anyway. But men probably started the manufacturing of sex as a product, prostitution. And we're most likely to blame for it. But I have to stick to points. Back to what we as men are sold to in our dating world by women. This is cliche, but it's relevant to add. Women often express wanting an authentic man that is real and true to his words. Women want a man whose total being validates he is not fake or false. Although sometimes women seek liars and crooked men. But as you'll see in the many examples I'm going to give, women are very hypocritical, contradictory, and self-righteous. I know, I said it. 2 tears in a bucket, so fuck it. I didn't stutter, go tell your daughter and your mother. Women want a real man, but they show us long fake nails, fake eyelashes that men don't care for. Fake butts, surgeries, taking ribs out, Botox, high heels that most men don't care about, eyeliner that men don't care about, Spanx, fake breasts, drawn on eyebrows most men do not like, tummy tucks, stomach stapling, and since 2020, they have purchased or received 87% of cosmetic surgeries in the United States, according to the American Society of Plastic Surgeons. What about women endorsing and promoting a false sense of beauty without the help of men? What do I mean by that? I mean that men are not pushing women into this industry anymore. Men are not so much so, not anymore, so much so. Maybe I need to check on that. Don't hold me to that. But women have entered that industry enough to the point that I'm making. Men are not saying this is how we want women to look. Men are not saying these are our ideals of what we consider beautiful in a woman. But women now have taken the market of exploiting themselves and their own beauty in exaggerated fashions that have them competing with each other on what they are saying to each other about what men want. When men are saying, no, that's not what we want. In some countries, women watch bloggers who have made themselves in every way appeal to sex by marketing the clothes they wear, tattoos, and the content of their dialogue. Everything is geared towards sex in the way that they're, portraying themselves. The vast majority to, kids and other women. The vast majority of the audiences watching these women are teenage girls spending hours on their phone listening to another woman tell them what is wrong with their bodies. These women are teaching women insecurities while also teaching them how to mutilate themselves in the name of beauty. Women and teenage girls spend days and months learning how to edit photos with Photoshop or whatever the new popular app is that changes change the color of your skin, the jawline, the waistline, the height, the weight, the nose, the eyes. These apps change everything about a person. So, there's many times I've been on dates and I'm sitting there wondering, where is she? And then she shows up and I'm like, who are you? Different person shows up and she doesn't expect us to notice. She was black in the picture and now she's a white woman. And you're lucky if that's, the least of the things she didn't tell you. Anyway, getting back to the women wanting a real man, yet ironically spending excessive amounts of energy and time on the internet, learning how to position your head just right so that the camera cuts off 30% of your face. Or learning how to have that perfect smile if you just squint your eyes and giggle ever so slightly. Or how to add freckles to your picture to get that natural look. Or how to take a selfie with your hand high in the air so that the camera is looking down on you to hide what they think is a weight problem. All these things are women teaching women in the name of men. But we as men are saying, no, that's not what we want. What else are we being sold or given besides the body? That is the question men are asking. Depending on your age and the age of the woman, the reality is sometimes this on a date. The reality is sometimes this on a date. You go on a date and she looks at her phone watching Instagram, TikTok, and texting random people. You, the man, feel like you're just in the background. She lifts her head up every now and then to acknowledge you. Depending, again, on the age of the woman that you're dating, But, like I said, she lifts her head up every now and then to acknowledge you. You can see this in the restaurants that you go to with other people's dates if you haven't experienced this for yourself. So you excuse yourself to the bathroom and you walk out the restaurant and leave her with the bill. That is one option. However, you try option number 2. You try to talk with her about things of substance or current events like the January 6th insurrection a day after it happened. You're speaking on something of context and you ask her if she saw it and what she thinks. She answers with yes or no or shoulder shrugs. Now, you would dismiss this as just being one woman and partly your fault for allowing yourself to even go out on a date with a woman that expresses so little interest in you. However, when this is becoming the average woman that you have to go out with, then you have to acknowledge it for what it is. Trend. The defense is always, not all women are like that. Which this is true, but the trend is not tilting towards substance. And it is growing to make the generic materialistic woman the norm in men's eyes. So she says, you're boring because you are attempting to know more about her in a conversation that forces her to engage in thoughts about the world. This is because she doesn't feel comfortable sharing mutual thoughts on an equal playing ground. She wants to critique you and what you are doing wrong. And she can't do this if she is being asked to give her side. Often her response will be, why do you want to know? Or what made you ask that? She would prefer that you try to entertain her and make her laugh or dance or show her something on your phone or talk about something that happened to someone else. Those are things where she can sit back and judge you. Women don't like philosophical or deep conversations because it allows men to see how they think. Women do not like being judged for their intelligence. They prefer to do the judging. They like questions they can answer quickly that involve no reason as to why they think the way they do. They want to answer quickly and judge you for the questions you ask so they can say, you're boring. They do not want to be the one judged for how they answer. Like I said before, philosophical or deep conversations force them to investigate their thoughts and express the reason for their beliefs without prepared answers. They want you to be on the stage while they play the audience. They did not come to the show to perform. They do not want to be on stage or have the spotlight on them for the words coming out of their mouth. This is something they fear and do not like. The vast majority do not like questions and conversations that might reveal their personal thoughts that have not been approved of by the masses. Nothing in their upbringing or female social network has taught them how to navigate this type of talk or even value this type of conversation as worth time. The only women who will entertain this type of conversation are the kind who are close to their fathers or brothers or around a lot of men early in life. Again, when it comes to philosophy, you will find women do not like to engage in these types of conversations and do not want to reveal their personal thoughts that have not been approved by the masses. Approval and acceptance means everything for women. Accepting rejection and being a rebel is more common with men. Inevitably, women's nature is to reject men, and men's nature is to seek women that will accept him. What do I mean by that? A woman's nature is to reject men? Well, she can't just open up for every man for her own safety's sake. She has to look at you, judge you, critique you, like the things I said earlier that were kind of on the negative end. But a woman feels like she has to do that. So she's not just open for every man. There's a nurturing side that she feels where she's willing to give a man, a particular man, a certain man, a lot in everything and invest into that one man. But a woman's not going to do that for every man. She has to study you. At least I think. I'm just a man. And this is a man's perspective of how women think, not a woman's. So inevitably, like I said, women's nature is to reject men, and that's what I meant by that. And men's nature is to seek women that will accept him. Thus, on a bit of a tangent, it ain't hard to see why men leave countries or lands to find women elsewhere when they feel they're not being appreciated and we're not being accepted by the women of our own culture. It is also easy to see why men seek women who will accept us. However, when a woman sees a man, let me get this right. Okay. I was saying it's also easy to see why men seek women who will accept us. However, when a woman sees a man, her default in the United States is set to, what is wrong with this man? Or let me see if I can see what's wrong with this man. She and her friends are scanning the man like a computer for viruses to find every small thing or big thing about you that is not normal or off a little bit, and she will bring it to your attention to attack you, although she might do it with a smile. And so, you have big ears. You walk funny. Did your mother buy you that shirt? However, if you said things like that to her on a date, she would cry. But back to the point of this is how her mentality is. She is going to scrutinize and scan you, and she prefers to do it with her friends or family there to give her comfort. It gives her a little bit more power. Like ego. You know? Woman always likes to work in comfort. Approval. More than anything, that matters to most women is approval. A man's looks or words or riches are not as important as others approving of that man. That's what popularity is all about. Men know that if I'm very ugly, but I'm very popular, I can get some women. Approval. That's what a wedding for a woman is all about. Approval. That's what a woman imagines as she thinks of herself as a princess. This is the pressure on her to make the right decision and to have everyone's approval. So if things should go wrong, she won't be looked at as stupid or loose or going against the social norm and expectations of her family. She dances in a ballroom with a man while people clap. Approval. Her man sings very well. Approval. Her man is tall and good looking. Approval. Her man is rich. Approval. The dilemma is when a man meets her approval in some areas, but not her approval or her family's or her social class's approval in other areas. That is when she is hesitant. How will she look when she is with him? What will others think of her? A black man with a white woman. How does that happen? She isn't receiving approval. Well, women also have a thing for the bad boy. The more society or family says it is wrong to get with this person, the more that woman empathizes or wants to be with that person, either to spite her family or satisfy the lust for the forbidden that strikes her intrigue. I don't want to mention Eve, but the relevance of that story or that trait is staying in context with the point that I'm making without contradicting my former point on how women want approval. When men have a woman, we often don't tell our best friends, brothers, mothers, or fathers much about that other woman. Many girlfriends I've had, my parents, my brothers and sisters, they never even knew I had a girlfriend at that time. I ain't telling you every single relationship I'm in. It's the meaningful ones. It's the ones who are important that you take back home to mom and your father. So why don't we do this? We don't seek or need their approval in our decision for who we choose to love. That's the reason. We are also aware that many personal things about the love of our life is no one's business. And two can keep a secret if one is dead. I mean, most people want gossip. Most people will throw things back in your face. You have to give them material and ammunition to do that. I'm not going to share things with you about someone I love the most because it's none of your business. And I wouldn't want to jeopardize that other person's trust if you should one day decide to say something personal. I told you about my wife in front of my wife is when you choose that you want to say it, or in front of, other people, or in front of my wife and her friends. Why would you do that? Because you're pretty much going to get knocked the fuck out. But, men like to tease sometimes, or, try little ways to say things they think are slick to try to get to your woman sometimes. Not often. Men don't really too much play that game. But, maybe you say something to another girl. She'll do it. But, so men, we don't really talk like that as far as, about our women in every certain situation. We might say something that she does that gets on our nerves, but we ain't going to too much give other men too many personal details about our women. And if I did ask too many questions about my friends' wives, then they will quickly address that situation by asking, what's the reason why you asking so many questions about my wife, man? You can see where a man would think this is going. You want to fuck my wife? Is that what you saying? Just get straight to the point, man. What are we talking about? However, Women do not do this. Women will tell their mothers your dick size, how clean your underwear are, your most personal, intimate conversations and secrets you ask her never to repeat, and anything else she can think of. That mother's knowing. This goes all the way back to the beginning when I was speaking about approval. These are the types of socializing that seem to interest women, and not the thoughtful, introspective, philosophical, or, the worldly thoughts that we as men sometimes like to engage in. Women prefer to do the judging to see if you meet their approval. If you try to turn the table, then they will leave the conversation sometimes. Let me give you an example of something that draws out, for a little while on the psychology of women. This is probably one of the most popular viewpoints that women express. They want men to see them for more than sex. Strap on your seatbelts. It's about to be a bumpy ride. Tired of this shirt unbuttoning itself. So, let's deal with sex logically. Let's approach it the way that women are presenting this topic to men. Let's go fully into it. Would a woman and a man engage in a lifetime commitment with each other if not for sex? Is there any other attribute or appeal or trait besides sex that could make a man and a woman say that I will not sleep in the bed or have any intimate relationships with anyone else except you? If sex wasn't never involved? This is part 2.